Good morning. Welcome to Morning Coffee. I am your host, Brooke Carlock, and today we have my brother Quinn with us today. My brother Colin bailed on me if you've been watching for a while. He bailed, every time I asked him to come on, but Quinn came through.
Right
on. So thank you so much for being here. Again, if you are watching live, please feel free to leave questions and comments in the chat, and we are happy to answer them. Ask us anything you want. We're open books. And if you're watching in the replay, welcome and thank you. We just do casual grief chat about anything that comes up. And this one's going to be super cash since it's my brother here talking with me. But as always, first, we like to ask, okay, what are you drinking? What are you guys drinking? I've got my normal protein coffee with peppermint. Quinn, what are you drinking?
Sheets molten lava.
Molten lava.
Molten lava, yes.
What?
It has coffee and oat milk, and it's
like a whole, look at that ingredient list. It's like, whoo, it's a whole order there. It actually sounds kind of good, though. All right. Quinn is just venturing into the world of coffee.
Yes.
Do you drink tea?
Occasionally. Usually when my daughters get sick, they drink tea to make them feel better, and then I will drink some as well. But here and there, I drink iced tea a lot.
I don't drink anything tea. If anyone who's been watching me for any length of time knows that I despise tea. I've tried every kind of tea and I can't. I know it's so good for you. I wish I loved tea, but I just hate tea. All right, you ready to talk some grief?
Sure.
You can take a drink if you want. Like I said, we're casual.
Yeah.
All right, so Quinn, a lot of times I forget because I just talk about myself. That sounds really egotistical. but normally I just share my, experiences with grief. And a lot of times I forget, that other people in our family have had the same exact losses. So I am really interested to hear about all the losses that we've had in our family kind of from your perspective. So I figured we could just sort of we'll go through the gamut just to remind if you're new, if you don't know, for most of you, this is going to be review. So in a span of a year and a half, we lost our dad to a heart attack, our stepmom who overdosed on pills and alcohol. Then our mom got pancreatic cancer, and was it 18 months? No, less than that.
Less than that.
I can't think of how many months off the top of my head, but she fought that battle for a while, and then passed away last April. And then obviously my 10-year-old daughter, Libby, who was Quinn's niece. So we were hit with a ton of shit in our family in a very short amount of time.
Yep.
And we had also already lost our sister Shannon years before that. When I was in my 20s, you were probably younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how many years younger am I than you?
You are 8 years. How old are you?
What, 41?
Oh, so it's not 8, 5.
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I'm 46. So yeah, that's 5.
Yeah.
Math, rock stars. We are here.
Horrible.
Woohoo! We did the math.
Numbers frighten me.
46 to 41. All right. So yeah, now that we figured that out, you're 5 years younger. It seems like more than that for some reason. I don't know why.
I don't know.
Well, because you're the baby. We always just kind of thought of you like the baby. So we had 5 kids in our family. I was smack in the middle. So number 3, we had our older sister Shannon, and then Devin, and then me, and then Colin and Quinn. So Quinn's the baby. He's 5 out of 5.
Oh.
Yeah. Not spoiled at all. Just kidding. All right. So let's start. I guess let's just start with the first with Shannon. Because sibling loss is something that so many people go through, but I feel like those are kind of the forgotten people. And I've had Max and Grayson on the show to talk about losing Libby. I'm actually curious. I'm just thinking of this right now, but I always say that your grief has so much to do with your relationship with the person that you lose. So for Max and Grayson, there's a big age gap with Libby. So like Max is 8 years older than Libby. And both of them have said that they think that that makes it easier because they weren't, they were teenagers when she died and she was still in elementary school. So they weren't like hanging out together a lot. And she was so busy with dance, they loved each other. They were siblings. They, hung out together and the boys were like her protector, but it wasn't like they were super duper, you know what I mean? They weren't like hanging out together all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So they think that that makes it easier. I'm thinking like with Shannon, she was almost like your mom in a lot of ways. So
you're going to get me early.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Quinn is a crier. He is very sensitive, which is awesome. If they've watched my podcast before, though, they're used to David and David cries. So
okay, good.
He's also
good.
sensitive. So we are all about the sensitive, teary-eyed men on this. I love it. I love it. So yeah, Shannon. Well, you can tell me what was your. I'll let you talk a little bit. So I don't talk the entire time.
Yeah, if I
Go
can.
for it if you can. Your relationship with Shannon.
Yeah, no, that's tough. Like she was like a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Our mother was in school when we would when we were kids or when I was a kid. So she was old enough where she would take me to college with her. She would have to pick me up, and we would go and we would, I'd stay at the common area, which was called the Philly House in Millersville. And we would hang out and she would end up going to class. And I mean, I would never let my kid do that at this point, but she would go to class and the other kids that were there, the other college students at the Philly House would watch me. And then she would come back and then we would hang out for a long time, throughout the day. But it's, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like that still hits me to this day. It's been how long? I mean, it's been
years.
It's like, forever. It seems. But yeah, there's different.
Gosh, how long is it? Like 15?
It's gotta be. Yeah.
This is math. I can't math, but
no numbers again.
I know,
Terrible.
like it all just kind of fades.
But no, it's still very real to me. And it still hits me to this day. Like there'll be times where I'm just sitting there and then I think about her. And with everybody, I mean, it to me, it's different. To me, the tragedy in our family is, our family did not have a normal dynamic. Like we didn't see our dad a lot, like on a regular basis. We didn't see, when we got older, I didn't see my mom a lot on a regular basis. So if I don't think about it, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. But then at the same time, there are certain things that remind me of them that hit me in like a second. Like I can list them off. My dad, fish, the koi, the koi is a huge thing. We didn't get along very well at times. But we had one thing in common. He was working on ponds. And now since I have his fish, since he passed away, they are with me and, and I cherish them. Like they're, there's just something that kind of connect us still. Shannon is white tulips. It's her favorite flower.
Yeah. Which is you see my tattoo here. That is the white tulips for Shannon.
Yeah. And we have tulips. My wife and I have tulips in our yard that, we don't know how they got there, but every year they come up later than all the other ones and they stick around a lot longer than the other ones. So that's a reminder to me that she's around. Libby, rainbows. That's anytime we see a rainbow. Even my wife, she saw a rainbow the other day when it was completely sunny out. Immediately, it was Libby there. I'm trying to think what else. Mom. Stupidly enough, cookies.
Yeah. Oh, that's so stupid. I've talked about that before. Like I bake chocolate chip cookies if I'm thinking about mom.
Yeah.
Cookies are my mom. Anything holiday related is a mom thing for me.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, they were huge. Christmas time.
Cigarettes, which is not a good correlation, but it has one. Smoke like a chimney, our mom.
But yeah, it's cookies is a huge thing. Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, my daughter's into Harry Potter. That's a huge thing, and that gets me still to see how much she loves Harry Potter.
Yeah, because it would have been nice to. David's watching. He said Kent's. Yes, Kent 100.
Kent's 100. Yeah,
Kent 100.
And Roger Whittaker
is my mom. Smoke those things like she wasn't going to ever be able to find them again.
How many times have we tried to flush those things from the toilet?
Oh my gosh, so many. Her whole life, and never stopped, man, until even till the end. My mom was the kind of smoker that she could be in the hospital and would just be begging the hospital people to go out for a smoke, and had to wear the patches and stuff when she was in the hospital. It was, man, yeah.
Yeah. Well, grandma's, Twizzlers, because she had the candy drawer that was the typical candy drawer, the typical grandmother candy drawer where you would go in and there'd be Twizzlers, mints, and then safety pins.
Yeah. For me, it's peanuts.
And peanuts, yes.
Peanuts. Our grandma sat in a chair and just pounded peanuts. Yep. Oh, okay. Memory lane here.
Right. Yeah.
All right. So let's go back. We kind of veered off course a little bit.
Oh, yeah. So
that's
Shannon.
Okay. Let's go back to Shannon.
Shannon.
So Shannon was almost, like I said, she was almost like Quinn's mom in that we kind of, anyone who's listened before has heard this from me, but our family was pretty messed up. That's an understatement. My mom and dad had a really nasty divorce, and my mom wouldn't be anywhere that my dad was. It was just very angry, contentious, not a good situation. So my mom, having 5 kids and, being single, she hadn't gone to school, didn't have any sort of job skills. So she decided to go back to school first for nursing. And then she ended up becoming a social worker. But while she was putting herself through school, like Quinn said, Shannon, our older sister, she was 8 years older than me. So 9, 10, 11, 12. So she was 13 years older than you.
Yeah.
So when she was college age, high school, college age, she was taking care of Quinn a lot, like more than our mom was, because our mom was so busy with school. So yeah, I think you had a different relationship with her than pretty much than the rest of us.
Yeah, definitely.
Because to me, she was a sister, and it was cool because she was, a sister in a sea of other boys. We had that connection, but you guys were definitely had a much closer bond, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go back to when Shannon died. How did you find out? Do you remember?
How did I find out? I remember talking to her on the phone because she ended up getting pneumonia.
Yeah.
She was going to the doctor. I had called her to ask her how she was doing. And on the way to the doctor, she said she was, she's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm fine.
Mm-hmm. It's okay.
And she'd give me a call when she got back, when she was home. And then I think it was that night, I think, right? Or was that
I think it was the next day.
It was the
she
next
went to the
day.
doctor, and then it was the next day, because the next day is when I talked to her, and she was busy getting ready because she was going to have Dad and Terry, our stepmom, there for Christmas Eve dinner. So at the last time I talked to her was right before Christmas Eve. She was getting ready for that dinner, and she sounded like crap. And I kept saying, like, are you sure you want to have dinner? Like, are you sure you're okay to do this? And she kept saying, like, I'm fine. And she told me at that point she had gone to the doctor the day before.
Right.
And they had given her like some sort of medicine and said she was fine. She just needed to take the medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that night she went to sleep and didn't wake up.
Yeah.
And it turned out that she had pneumonia and her lungs had filled up with fluid while she was sleeping. And that was how she died. And it was like a shock to everyone because she, you know, it seemed like a cold, you know, it just sounded like a bad cold. And we all thought it was just a normal cold.
Yeah, I think so. Did the medicine react with anything?
I don't know. Like I don't know if they ever actually figured out exactly what happened there, but
it was a freak thing.
It was just a totally random freak thing that no one was expecting. And it shocked the hell out of all of us. Yeah. Like we were all just like, what? I found out because her husband called me in the middle of the night and just said, like, I can't wake up your sister. So I think I was one of the first people to find out.
I want to say, I think Colin called me.
Yeah. Cause I called Dad and I might have called Colin. I can't remember who else I called, but he asked me to call a couple people. I don't think I called you. It might have been Colin. I might have asked him to call you. It was like a chain reaction, but anyway. So yeah, so Rachel said, I've lost my mom, dad, sister, and 2 brothers. Losing my son was the absolute worst. Yeah, Rachel, I know just from talking to you, we've gone through a lot of the same stuff. And yes, I concur. And I hate to say that. I hate to say that like losing a child is the worst. I don't like to say that anything is the worst grief, but having gone through lots of different losses, it does not even come close to comparing. But I think a lot of it is, like I said, just the relationship that you have with the person.
Yeah. When I found out that, you know, that Libby passed, like for the longest time, like, you know, and you know, your mother, your father, like, you know, it is a little different because they're older.
Yeah.
You know, when there's somebody that's so young, it does, regardless, you know, it just is, it just hits you in a different way. But from being in, you know, from an outside perspective, and obviously not being my daughter, I mean, even though she was my niece, like I still kept putting my mind frame in the fact that, like, what if this happened to one of my daughters?
Yeah.
And there is no comparison.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
Like you can't. Yeah. Like.
Yeah. All right. So let's go here. And thank you, Rachel, for that comment. Yeah. And I'm sorry for all of your losses. It's obviously we can relate, and it all sucks. So out of the losses that we've had, which one would you say is the hardest?
Hardest. It would have to be Shannon.
Shannon. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. You know, and it's kind of hard seeing, like, Livy was in that was like kind of unfathomable. Like that was ridiculous that happened. Seeing you go through.
It's okay. And you can stop. You like if you don't want to talk about something, it's fine.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Otherwise, just cry your way through it, man. Get it out. It is good. I say that all the time.
Seeing, I'll just keep my eyes closed so I don't get dehydrated. Seeing you go through what you've been through and what David has been through, is hard. You know, just as a sibling. But I don't know. The others, like the others, I say, but like my mother and my father, you know, Terry, they're all. It's like I said, it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. Like
Mhm.
we didn't see them that often. So it's like until something comes up that reminds me of them,
Yeah.
it's just kind of like it's just like an like kind of day to day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But you know, there are things that like Shannon, like, you know, her and I, like, you know, we talk all the time.
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, like seeing, you know, we go to the studio,
Mhm.
Libby's memorial is right there. We pass it all the time. So I mean, it's tough, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I would say Shannon's the worst, even though it was the longest to go.
Yeah.
That's got to be the worst.
I think, does it go in spurts for you? Like for me, even though Shannon was a long time ago, I have times when it's not as hard, but then there are times like I remember when I had Libby and Libby was a little girl and like my kids were young and growing up, I felt her absence so much more because I knew she would have just adored Libby. Like
Oh
I
yeah,
was so, it made me
yeah,
so sad that she
yeah.
didn't have the chance to meet Libby and get to know her, and like she didn't get to hang out when Shannon died. She was 32.
It's crazy to me.
Which is crazy. And I think that's probably part of the reason why it's so hard. It's like our parents were 75 and it's still young to die at 75 these days, but it's not unexpected. Like you expect your parents to go first. But like with my sister at 32, when she seems completely healthy, to like die in the middle of the night in her sleep, that hits different, right? And it's the shock of it. And it's the same thing with Libby. It's like no one is expecting that to happen.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it just hits differently. But I really miss the fact that she, like, Max was a year old when Shannon died. So she got to meet Max and we hung out at her house a lot. So she did know Max like as a baby, but that was it. And I really mourned that she wasn't around to like meet my kids and we couldn't like hang out together as a family with kids, you know?
Yeah.
I think a lot of our family, I don't want to say downfall, that sounds really bad, but you know what I mean? I think Shannon was one who kept our family connected. Like we were all pretty close with her, so she did a lot of stuff to bring our family together. And after we lost her, it was kind of like, I mean, my parents were dealing with the loss of their child unexpectedly, and now I understand myself what that is like. And
yeah, you lose a glue. You lost the glue.
We lost the glue to the family.
Yeah.
And that was
the other side of the Velcro.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So yeah, I can understand why that is the hardest for you.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm gonna get deep on you for a second. And again, share as much as you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah.
Because I think this is something that people are interested in, and I think there's a lot of people in this situation, and I don't think it's talked about enough. So when my dad died, Quinn and my dad weren't really talking. How long had it been since you had really like stopped talking to him?
I think it was about a year and a half.
Okay. I
want to say.
Yeah. And this was not a new thing, and it's not a Quinn thing. It is like my brother Colin. People had very rocky relationships with my dad throughout our lives. People butt heads with him. He was very, very strong in his opinions and did things kind of his own way. And and was sometimes he could be very insensitive in the things that he said.
It's very alpha. Yes,
he was very alpha. And so like my brother Colin didn't have a relationship with my dad. Shannon had stopped talking to him for a while before she died. And I think Devin did. Devin and I are the only ones that really never had like a time where we stopped talking to him at all. And for me, it's just because I'm such a people pleaser. I can't even imagine not talking to someone. But what was that like because Dad's death was also it was sudden and unexpected. He died. We had no idea anything was wrong. I mean, we had no clue anything was coming. And then we get the phone call that he died on the side of the road from a heart attack.
Yeah.
And it was like, what the hell? Like, what? Like our big, huge, strong dad, like he can't, that's impossible. Like for me anyway, it was like, he can't be gone. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
He seemed like he'd be around forever with his opinions. And for me to go, he had his faults, but I was probably a daddy's girl. But so let's get into, sorry, I'm rambling.
No.
What was it like for you when Dad died unexpectedly, having not had a relationship with him for a year and a half?
Unexpected. You know, I mean, there I don't know. There were things that were happening that, you know, made it a little easier. You know, it was never not easy, but what made it easier was the fact that, you know, some of the comments that were made, you know, made it a little easier. Not that I was holding a grudge.
Yeah.
But my main thing was I needed him to be the father that, you know, the father and the grandfather that would come spend time with the grandkids just to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Not come and try to take over the situation.
Yeah.
Realize that, you know, your son got older and now things might shift. Like now I'm the one that's kind of controlling my domain.
Yes.
Not you.
And I think that's fair to say for all of us. He
couldn't let that happen.
He could not let that happen for it. Like he had his opinion about what we should be doing.
Center of attention.
And
that's just how it
definitely made it known if we were doing things that did not did not adhere to his vision of what our lives should be. And I'll throw in an example. Like I said, I'm not throwing him under the bus. I adored my dad, and he would say the same thing here. Like when I graduated from high school, he wanted me to be a lawyer. And it was like, you're smart enough to be a lawyer. Being a lawyer will make you money. You should be a lawyer. And I was like, okay. So he paid for me to go to college on the assumption that I was going to be a lawyer. So partway through college, I decided that I wanted to be a teacher. And I felt like that was my calling and I'd be good at it. And he got so angry at me not wanting to be a lawyer that he refused to pay for any of the rest of my college and literally withdrew like all of his financial support. And then I had to make my way through the rest of my college years and grad school and everything, paying for it all myself because I wasn't going to be a lawyer. So that was the kind of thing that was like a common thing with him. If you were doing something that he didn't think was the right thing for you to be doing, he definitely let you know. and you didn't feel very good about it. Mm-mm. So, yeah. Okay. Did you have, and do you still have regrets? Do you regret that you weren't talking to him when he died? Or is it more of like, you know what, it is what it is. And I had my reasons and I'm comfortable with those reasons.
No, like it's kind of a double-edged sword. Do I have regret? I don't. The comments and the reason as to why I distance myself does not. I don't have regret for sticking up for what I believe.
Yeah.
I don't regret sticking up for who I love. You know, so it makes it a little easier. I do regret. It's just kind of hard because you never know. Nobody expects stuff like that to happen.
Yeah.
And when at some point when you're ready to just extend an olive branch. And, you know, and I was getting there. I was getting to the point where I was going to say, hey, like, we got to sit down. Like, we got to, you know, talk this out. This is stupid. You know, you're going to have to kind of cave and realize that, you know, we need you to be a certain way, and you're going to have to respect that. Whether that conversation would have went good or whether it would have went bad, I don't know. I think that's what I regret, because it could have continued the same way it was, and then we wouldn't have been talking with one another. Or it could have gotten to the point where maybe he would have said, you know what, fine, like, I'll back off. We can give this relationship another shot.
Yeah.
That's what sucks. I don't know if it's regret. It's kind of, I wish it would have happened. You know what I mean? And it never got the chance to. So think about that.
The what could have been.
Yeah. But there were so many shots. Like, there were so many tries.
Yeah. That is true.
Throughout, you know, our lives. Like, but like I said, like, there's still things that, regardless of whether it's out of sight, out of mind, and he's not around anymore, there are things that had an impact on me. Yeah. You know?
Well, as soon as you showed me pictures of your pond, that was the first thing I thought was, I wonder if while you're building that, if you missed Dad. Like, because just seeing your pond reminds me of Dad. Like, it was just like, oh my God, I could see him there, like, lifting those heavy stones, and us saying, like, Dad, like, put the damn stones down. You don't have to be like Hercules. You're gonna stroke out. And that was when I'm looking at those pictures. It was like, man, I wish Dad would have loved that pond. Yeah. So I get what you mean. I totally get what you mean. That's why I go to Christopher Cross concerts, even though I'm 46, and I sit there and say, sailing takes me away. You know, they still have a big impact. Yeah. And it is the wave. So I'm going to put Rachel, you have each other to lean on. Yes, Rachel. And thank you for doing this. You're very welcome, Jennifer. And this is the one I wanted to get to. So Rachel said, I have days when I'm good, and then I have days where every single thing reminds me of him, right down to a road we used to drive on together and talk. Waves for sure. Yeah. So grief waves. I call them grief tsunamis, and they happen constantly. And that's how it is with our parents. And I say a lot that I don't think I ever really got to grieve Mom and Dad as much as I should have, because the loss of Libby, totally overwhelmed. Like, the loss of them.
Yeah, it's in such a short time. You know, everything happened at once.
Yeah, but and I've said before, but they are not having Mom and Dad has hit me the most recently because of the book. Because, well, you know, Dad, you'll understand this. Like, I wish that I could call him and say, like, hey, like, he would have been writing a book is one of the things that my dad thought that I should do. And when I saw him all the time, it was like, why don't you write a book? Why don't you write a book? And now I finally wrote a book. Yeah. And it's like, oh, I wish that I could share that with him, because he would have been so freaking proud. And there was something about when you finally did something right and he would, like, give you that praise, that it was just like, oh, I searched for that so hard. And which is probably not a good thing, but it's no, I mean, I missed that moment that I could have had.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's the same thing. Like, it's like you know, us with the Pottery Studio. Like, he would have loved to have come and thrown pottery.
Yes, he would have. So my brother and his wife are opening up a pottery studio. So let's give it a plug. It is called
Clay House Arts.
Clay House Arts. It's in Manheim, Pennsylvania. So if you're local, look them up. They have classes for beginners and advanced students in pottery making. And it's awesome. They're finishing up the space now, and it's going to be beautiful. And we're super proud. I'm glad that you are doing that. It's awesome.
Thank you.
And they are both his wife, Quinn worked with like, I don't know what, behaviorally challenged students,
special needs, yeah.
for a very long time.
Yeah.
And his wife is an occupational therapist. So their specialty, what's going to make them different, is that they will have the ability to help people who, people that have different abilities. And I think that is the coolest thing ever. But yes, you're right. Dad would have loved.
Yeah.
But he would have been down there making some pottery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to run the place.
But he
would have
telling you exactly how to do everything. Yep. But it would have been fun. Like he made things fun.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
He just brought a life.
That's it. Yep. Stories like that. That's one thing that also, even though like, like we didn't get along the best, like the things that I remember of him also are the stories. Even though we've heard him 50 times, he was a storyteller.
Yeah. Larger than life. Ruth says, good luck with that, Quinn.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ruth is local, so Ruth, you can take the family. And
there we go. Absolutely.
Okay, so we didn't talk about Mom at all. Let's give Mom her due.
Yes.
Are you okay? Still, we're at 36 minutes. I don't know if you're in a rush, but
go for it.
We'll go through. I feel like I could just keep rolling. I told you it's just super casual chat.
Yeah.
So Mom died of her cancer last April, right? How are you dealing with that?
Like it's pretty recent, so and then again, still, it's one of those things where certain things hit me at certain times. Like I go through day to day. I don't go over into the area of her house where her house was, because change is hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just go there every day. If something hits me, and then I get through it, just like I am now.
Yeah.
I don't hold things in, as you can probably tell.
That's good. People need to see that.
Yeah. So, just every day. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you think that it was easier because she was sick and we kind of watched the progression until it got to the point where it was like, like it's hard to watch?
No, not. I mean, you know what? Kind of like we saw it, like we knew it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
I think the hardest part for me about the whole situation, I mean, holding somebody's hand when they pass, is rough.
Yeah, it is.
So it's not that unexpected, but it's it's I don't know how to explain it. It's just like, the being there is tough. I feel like if I wasn't there and I came back, it'd be like,
mm-hmm.
Damn, that sucks. But at the same time, being there and watching it happen, is completely different. I think the thing that frustrates me the most about it was that when she was going through her process, going through the cancer, how old, 75-year-old woman gets, she's stage 4, stage 4 pancreatic cancer, has the surgery, gets everything, like she, if I'm not mistaken, she was clear.
Yeah. They went in and she decided to do the surgery, even though they said it was going to be risky. And they went in and they got the cancer. But then she never recovered after that.
No. But like they and that's the thing. Like that's one of the hardest parts for me, is that, what, goes through that, comes out on the other end, and then is just to the point where you can't, like, her body was just too frail to be able to fight it.
Yeah.
That sucks, because
it does.
She, and I don't know if it would have been different if, we were there more to get her up and get her going and get her walking, to get her muscle back. But, the early stages of when you see somebody that you love and you want to stick around, You know, when you tell them, look, you have to get up, you have to try, and they don't do it, that's tough.
That was frustrating.
That was extremely frustrating. Now, you know, the person's going through a hard time, but at the same time, like, you get your ass up to see your grandkids.
Yeah.
You know
also,
I mean?
and she would say she didn't want to die. Like even when it was time to take her to hospice, she didn't want to go to hospice. Like we had to make that decision, and it was so freaking hard because the doctors are telling us like she's not going to get better, but she is saying like I don't want to go to hospice because I know I'm going to die, and you know, and she would say stuff like I want to go fishing. Like, Mom, we try to have these conversations that were serious. Like, Mom, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Like, tell us what we should do. And she'd say, take me to Ocean City to go fishing. And it's like, Mom, you can't even sit up. Like, what? How are we going to take you to Ocean City to go fishing?
Yeah.
And she kept saying, like, I want to go home. But it wasn't an option. Like, she physically couldn't have done that. And she was so stubborn about it that it was so... For me, that was what made it so hard because you knew she didn't want to die, but she wasn't being realistic about what was happening.
Right.
So
or the steps in order to get
yes,
better.
that was really frustrating. And it just struck me while you were talking, like how different Mom and Dad were in that way. Because Dad, if he would have been in that situation, like my dad had colon cancer, right? Prostate cancer. So he had prostate cancer, and we barely heard a peep. Like he went through all of his treatments. Like I don't even think he told us for a while. He was like I'm tough. Like I'm not. He looked at it like he didn't want to burden us. Yeah. And he just went through it on his own, like silently. And
very alpha.
Yes, and did not, and was very much like, you guys are not going to worry about taking care of me when I'm old. Like I'll go to a home, I'll figure it out. Like I don't want to put that on you guys. It's not your responsibility. Whereas my mom was like, you need to be here every second of every day taking care of me because I raised you. And now I want everyone circling around me all the time. And she would get so angry that we had our own lives going on.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason that she didn't do so well in the hospital is because she wanted that. I think she wanted that attention. Like she wanted us to come to her, and she liked the fact that when she was in the hospital, I had to take off work all the time. Like I took so many unpaid days to go to Baltimore and sit in the hospital with her in Baltimore because she was so sick. And part of me still thinks and is honestly slightly resentful that I feel like she didn't try as hard to get better as she could because she liked the fact that people were paying so much attention to her. I don't know if you feel that way, but that's kind of how
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the whole thing was very, it was very frustrating.
Yeah. It just struck me how different they were.
Yeah.
Like in the way that they handled illnesses.
Yeah, serious stuff. Like the serious issues. Because you used to hear like about Dad's kidney stones all the time.
Yeah.
That was part of the stories. I had kidney stones. It was huge. Okay, congratulations, Dad. Like we hear about those, but when it came to the serious stuff, like that he knew that, we would be concerned about.
Yeah.
He kind of put it off to the side.
We're getting kind of long here, but what he's talking about, my dad had kidney stones like all the time, and they were huge. And he actually kept a jar of the kidney stones that he had passed, and he would show it to people. And these things were huge. Like it must have been so painful. And my dad was like 6'5", 350 pounds, like a huge dude. And they would put him on the ground, like screaming in pain. But he was so proud of those things that he kept them and showed them off to people. It was very bizarre. Anyway, okay. I want to get to some comments here because we do have some comments and questions. So Diane says, any advice for a sibling who won't talk about his sister 2 years after she died by suicide? They were 1.5 years apart and very close. I know he is hurting. Oh, Diane, that is really hard. I will say Oh, I'm sorry. There's a second part here. He has since gotten married and now having a baby, so he's moving forward, but I worry about intergenerational trauma. Okay, so I understand your concerns. If you haven't seen the episodes with my sons, you can find those on, I think they're on Facebook, but they're definitely on my YouTube channel, which is Grief Sucks with Brooke Carlock. We talk about this a lot with that because Quinn is an exception to how men handle their grief, I would say. And actually, David, my ex-husband, is the same way. He's way more emotional than most men with their grief. My sons do a really good job, I think, of explaining that they don't talk about their grief as openly. And you might find, because they both said where they didn't talk to me, they didn't talk to parents, they didn't really want to talk to therapists, they talked to their friends. So I'm curious if your son is talking to his now wife, or if he's talking, or if he talked to his friends about it at all, or if he just pushes it down. Some people just push it down. Our brother, Colin, he's a pusher downer. He doesn't talk about any of it.
Humor is a big big diverter. He diverts to humor.
Yeah.
For a lot of it.
I tend to do that too a little bit, but not nearly to the extent that he does. Like he's very uncomfortable talking about it. It's all normal. But I would say, like, ask him if he's talking to friends. If he's not, it might be too soon. Yeah, people handle things differently. Unfortunately, I can tell you this as a mom, there's not much that you can do for him, even though you're worried, because I was like this with my boys, with Libby's loss. There's not much that you can do as a mom beyond letting him know that you're there. Let him know that you are there if he ever wants to talk, that you're supportive of whatever he needs. That's really your job in the whole thing. And I know that's so hard to kind of just say it and step back and then see what comes of it. But that's kind of all you can do at this point. And I'm hoping that maybe he's talking to friends, or that he gets to that point where he's more comfortable sharing. Yes, your boys are wonderful. I forward all of this to him. Maybe he watches, but who knows? I hope he does. If he does, hello. Yeah, I mean, talk to someone. It's good to get it out. Some people, though, don't feel comfortable. They don't like to get it out. And maybe there's another way that he's processing things that's just not verbal. For some people, they process in other ways. So that could be an option too.
Yeah, I would say I don't really seek to talk about it. Like, yeah. I don't like openly just go to somebody and want to talk about stuff. I'm usually triggered about certain things. When somebody starts talking about it, then it hits me. But if, like, I very rarely seek out somebody to talk to, to bring those emotions up. They just usually come out when I'm triggered by it. Yeah. So
yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so we have, Diane, we already did that one. Mr. Goodman.
Hey.
I was just telling Quinn, I was like, Mr. Goodman, our principal from elementary school, is likes my book. So he says, all the best with your pottery shop, Quinn. That is so exciting. Thank you. It is super exciting. So Mr. Goodman watched all of the Carlock family grow up and go through his elementary school. So yeah, he was there for all the craziness our family was going through in elementary school. Those were some interesting years. Okay, we are at 50 minutes, so we are long enough. Is there anything else that you want to talk about? Can I ask you one last thing, just for my own personal enjoyment? Do you have a favorite memory of Libby?
A favorite memory of Libby?
Or is there just a memory that jumps out when you think of Libby?
Actually, so there's a picture of us that we have. So swimming in the pool. So I have a picture of Ireland and Libby sitting together.
That's his daughter.
That's my daughter. When Ireland was very young. Then I have a picture of Mom, Libby, and Ireland. swimming in the pool.
Yeah.
And just how, like, every day was the best day.
Best day ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
that was her. Everything. Every day was the best day ever. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. You okay? You made it through. Yeah. And I think you only cried like 5 times. So that's
5. Yeah.
No, that's so good.
For what, 15 minutes at a time?
That's so good for people to see, though, because a lot of times people ask me like how I do this stuff, and I don't cry.
Yeah.
I cry privately. Like, I'm not a public crier. And I think part of it, honestly, is that I'm desensitized a little bit because I talk about it so often, because I do this every day. Like, I talk about my grief every day in my videos and my writing and everything that I do.
I don't know how you do it.
So it kind of like, it's like compartmentalized a little bit. And what I tell people is I set aside special time where I know I'm going to bawl, and I look at pictures, and videos get me the most. So yeah, I'm sorry. We have one more. Okay. So, hey, Brooke, I lost my daughter, Brianna, from Toronto Sick Kids Hospital from a deadly bacteria infection. I find I'm okay some days, and others I just break down for days. And that is exactly how it goes, Colleen. I am having that myself. And if you've watched any of my videos lately, this is a struggle period for me. And I don't know if it's the book. I'll share. I know this is getting really long, so I'll try to make it fast, but I just had a situation where the intersection where Libby died, they're making improvements to it. And I talked in the last video about how that was kind of like, it was good and bad. It was hitting me in good ways because I'm happy. I try to look at it like Libby would be happy that it's going to help people and that they might not get hurt. But then there's also an anger part. 1, because it brings up stuff about the accident, and 2, because like they knew the intersection was bad for a really long time. So why didn't they fix it before my daughter died? But then along with that, with all the news that intersection is getting, and they're talking about Libby again, there was an article that mentioned that that the autopsy said that she had died from her injuries at the scene. And I didn't know that she had an autopsy. Like, I had no idea. We didn't get any results or anything. So then that started this spiral of me having nightmares about what actually happened and like how she actually died. Because all I ever heard was that it was like instantaneous and she was dead when people got there. But then I started, your brain just goes, and that just triggered all of these like awful thoughts. And I didn't talk about it for like days, and I was having nightmares, and I wasn't sleeping, and I was crying. And then I actually just talked to David about it, because I finally told him, I'm like, look, this is what is happening. I don't know. Like, did she have an autopsy? I was like, I didn't know. Like, did you know? And I thought maybe like he heard, but just wasn't saying anything. Just to try to keep it from me. But then it turns out like it was an error in the reporting. They just like examined her at the scene, and it was what they told us, that she had died, from the injuries or whatever. But yeah, that sent me on a downward spiral. So I know exactly how you feel. And that's totally normal to be okay some days and then lose it for others. So Colleen adds, yes, I can't even watch Toronto news or anything. I'm very angry also. I'm so traumatized, and the pain in my heart is so real. Can't go into hospitals either. So much triggering. Yeah. I mean, that with it happening in a hospital and something as like random as a bacterial infection, there's just, I get it. There's no way to not have those feelings, and they're all normal. You're such a wonderful lady for keeping your channel going. You've been through so much pain also. Thank you. I mean, I hope it helps. I hope it helps people with me rambling about everything. Eliza says, I'm thinking about Brooke and Libby every day. Your videos help me to survive after losing my son. Do you see your precious daughter in your dreams? Do you believe in reincarnation? So yes to the first question. And thank you, by the way. I'm glad that I'm helping you. I love hearing that because that's why I keep doing this. That's really what keeps me going at this point. Yes, I do see her in my dreams, but that is a recent thing. For the longest time after she died, I was upset because I didn't have dreams about her. And I thought it was weird. And I wished that I would. And I didn't. And then I would say probably about 2 years out is when, maybe a year and a half, is when I started having the occasional dream about her. And it's been more recent lately, and I'm not exactly sure why. But yeah, it's kind of that blessing and a curse at the same time thing, because I wake up missing her so much. And I will say normally the dreams are not pleasant dreams that I have about her. So it's kind of like I'm happy to see her, but then it's also like, oh, this sucks because they are not happy dreams. And reincarnation, I'm gonna know for me, you're more of like spiritual bent. Like I know when you talk about the white tulips and seeing the rainbows and stuff, like I'm not a signs person at all. So, but a lot of people are. So yeah, I have nothing against it. I just don't. I'm very like, I'm not religious. I'm very like I'm very pragmatic and scientific. So
yeah, I'm more of a, the way that I look at it is I look at it like, whatever you need to believe in order to get you through the tough times is what.
Absolutely.
Not one specific thing that nobody has to be this exact way in order for, to get anywhere in particular. It's just whatever helps you throughout your day.
Yeah.
And the signs help me do that.
And I think they do for a lot of people. And along that line, I'm going to go back here to Kathleen. Hi, Kathleen. Kathleen is in our family. So she says, I talk to God about my grief. That helps many, many people. And she also says, Quinn, do good with your pottery shop.
Thank you.
I am sure
my wife
he
and I
will.
appreciate it. Yes.
All right. Eliza said, thank you. You're welcome. And we're almost at an hour. Both our girls are so beautiful. My pain mostly is thinking of her suffering. Yep. That is what does it, huh? I try to not go there. I just want my pain to stop. Saw a red cardinal today staring at me. God, I miss my baby girl so much. Colleen, my heart goes out to you. I understand, and I understand. So yes, our girls were beautiful, and it sucks. Grief sucks. It sucks that we have to feel that way, but I am sending you so much love and strength, and we can do this. Just like I always say, one foot in front of the other. Just do the best you can. Talk to people when you need it, and yeah, keep on trucking. There is hope, but it takes a long time to get there, and it never goes away, ever. It's just figuring out the best way to deal with things. So that is what grief is all about. And it's because we love them so damn much, honestly. Which is a beautiful thing that we felt that much love for our girls. So
it's also, when you see stuff like that, it's like, they're never going to be forgotten.
Yeah.
Because when you see a red cardinal, although it may be sad that she's not there, she's there in some way. Yeah. And you're still remembering that. So she'll always be
anything that makes you think of them is beautiful. So, Okay. I think we're going to stop now since we're almost at an hour. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. Sorry for bringing up all the tears, but it's healthy.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. We will see you in 2 weeks from today. I have lots of people booked for the next couple things. So we'll be back in 2 weeks and see you guys that Sunday. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. If you're watching on the replay, thanks for joining us. You can still leave comments or questions in the comments, and I will get back to those as soon as possible. And as always, sending love and hugs. Bye, guys.